Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm Jane Hseu, and I have just before I forget, I've got the previous. I'm the secretary of the on the board of directors of the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame, and we have many current and former board members, including Randy Albers there, and my pronouns are she, her, by the way. And I'm going to have Randy, if that's okay, tell us about, because I want to do this now before I forget, about another event going on with Literary Hall of Fame. Randy, did you want to?
Which one am I talking about, Jane?
Okay,
You
the
mean
one
last
on
week or the one
Saturday.
coming up? Last Saturday was a wonderful day. We had the 17th, that is. We featured a lot of young people reading their work. Eight winners in poetry and prose, and two honorable mentions in each. And it's just always inspiring to hear young people reading. So I was very, very happy with the turnout and very happy that so many people were supporting the effort, both by being there and sending messages and in cases giving money. So it was a wonderful day, as tonight will be, Jane.
Thanks, Randy.
Are you
So that
gonna
was
are you gonna talk about Saturday, Jane? Oak Park Library.
yeah, okay. That's a good segue as well. Let me just do a little thing since we started talking about the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame, and then we'll go to there is another event on Saturday at which some people here are a part of. But let's do Literary Hall of Fame, and then that's related but a little different. So anyway, yes, thank you to the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame for being the sponsor of this wonderful event. And um, we have a somewhat related event this Saturday, the 31st, the very last day of Asian American Heritage Month, which, this event is also celebrating. Mary Grace M.G. Bertulfo, one of our readers tonight, will also be presenting. It is at the Oak Park Main Library from 9:15 to 11. And we will have also a band called Sona Umbra. And I thought I saw Ed Eusebio on here. Maybe he's going to come back. And Karen Sue will also be sharing some of her signed books there. So I wanted to, for those who may be just finding out more about what the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame does, we are a nonprofit organization that highlights the work of historical Chicago and contemporary and current writers, like at our event today. And I want to thank especially our founding executive director, Don Evans, and the president of our board, Amy Danzer, who is here as well. And I want to thank all the other members of the board, the associate board. I know my good buddy Jasmine McMullen on the associate board is here, and perhaps others. And then also, and the advisory board, which Randy is a part of. And thank you to Rich Kono, who we've got here too, running the Zoom. And thank you to Linda Bond for making that lovely poster you've seen around. So I'm actually going to put a link in the chat to a crowdsourced document that you can all take a look at. And if so, and this is by way of introduction, I'm just going to speak for a few minutes before we get on to the readers. And so I'm going to go ahead and share screen. This is, some links, but it is also editable because what it is, as you can see, is a crowdsourced doc for our reading about we're really celebrating Chicago area literary and arts organizations. We're highlighting three tonight, but of course it's not, it's just, who we're able to bring together on this event, but there are many more. So we've got links. I wrote a blog post in relation to this event about Chicago Asian American writers and literary works. Again, not exhaustive. We have links from all our presenters tonight, their organizations, their websites where you can see more of their work or buy their book, and also a list of other Chicagoland Asian American literary arts organizations like Rickshaw Magazine. And I see the editors Nicole Samita and Ed Eusebio, and another editor Alex Yu. And Rickshaw has been around is Chicago since the 1990s. They're on hiatus, but they're back now. But you can see, I tried to collect the names of the literary and arts organizations I know, but this is editable, like I said. So if there's other Asian American Chicago area literary and arts organizations, please add to it. And also, perhaps if you're an Asian American writer in or writing Asian American literature in the Chicago area, feel free to put your information. Everybody will have that doc and we'll be able to use that. Okay, so let's see. I do want to say that tonight, as with all complex literature and creative writing, there may be some sensitive topics that come up in the readings. Individual writers may give content or trigger warnings about topics before they read. Please take care of yourself. You can, of course, shut off your camera, leave the Zoom if you need to, and let me know if I can help with provide any resources regarding sensitive topics. So, okay, that's my intro, and I want to go ahead and get into our program. So how we have it structured today is we have 3 Chicago area literary and arts organizations: Kundiman Midwest, Banyan Asian American Writers Collective, and South Asia Institute. And then we have writers who are part of the organizations, help build them as well, read their work in relation. And I want to thank Dawn for inviting me to organize an event for Asian American Heritage Month this May. And it'd been percolating in my mind just that it'd be great to bring organizations together. And so we have directors of those organizations to tell you a little bit about the organizations, and then a writer related to the organization will read, because I think as we build community, we also want to celebrate, the great work of these organizations, building these organizations, directing them, building community. All right. First up is Helene Achanzar, who is the Midwest chair for Kundiman. She is a poet and editor whose writing has been published in the Georgia Review, Quarterly West, the Academy of American Poets, Poem a Day series, and elsewhere. Winner of the 2022 New England Review Award for Emerging Writers, her work has been supported by the T.S. Eliot Foundation, the Chicago Architecture Biennial, and the Mastheads. She is a senior editor for Poetry Northwest and the director of programs at the Chicago Poetry Center. I'll hand it over to Helene.
Thank you so much, Jane. And thank you for everyone who helped make this event possible. Thank you to everyone attending. Really great to be in such a warm virtual room. I'll say a few words about Kundiman, and then I will share a quick poem before we welcome the featured reader from Kundiman, Maggie. So Kundiman is a national nonprofit organization dedicated to nurturing generations of readers and writers of Asian American literature. Kundiman creates a space where Asian Americans can explore, through art, the unique challenges that face the new and ever-changing diaspora. We see the arts as a tool of empowerment, of education and liberation, of addressing proactively the legacy we leave for our future. To extend Kundiman's vision of community building for Asian American writers everywhere, the organization has developed a national network of regional groups to host their own salons, readings, and workshops. Kundiman Midwest supports writers across the region through local and virtual events. So please do keep in touch. There's a link in the crowdsourced document to the regional groups for Kundiman, and you can join our listserv. That's the best way to keep in touch and find out what else is going on with Kundiman Midwest. Okay, and so before we welcome Maggie, I will share a quick poem in celebration of this, or in honor of this event that is celebrating Chicago and Chicago area writers. I will read a poem entitled Chicago. Chicago. With yearning do I cast my eyes upon you who makes the only gesture in the world. An earnest genuflection to those who rise to labor, to income, a city that works. I'm with you in the pastel sky upon a bus driver's dawn shift, in the eerie fluorescence that covers a teenager stocking cans past midnight. I'm with you in the teachers rummaging through dollar stores and in the women pushing strollers of children not their own. In the strange rocking of parked trucks behind the 24-hour hardware store, and in the echoes of vaults in banks bearing the flag of some republic or another, I'm with you. How I curl around you, the lamppost, for I'm the ruined sedan. I'm with you in the steam rising from a cart of boiled elotes, in the snap of a ballpark franc, in the simmering white wine of chicken Vesuvio from kitchens of restaurants with white tablecloths, where three-piece string ensembles move from couple to couple, playing songs like Bella Notte. In the din of an alley lit by a dumpster aflame, and in the grating scrape of the subway breaking, then roaring, then breaking again, I'm with you. How each winter I pray for snow, then the strength to endure it. And never could I imagine that this pendulum between desire and toil was for naught.
Thank you so
Thank you so much. I'll pass it back to you, Jane.
Thank you so much, Helene. That was beautiful. I think we just had an update of Carl Sandburg's Chicago poem, huh? Maybe 100 years later. I don't know the date on that. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. And now we'll have Maggie Su, who is the author of the novel Blob, a love story that I've got as just published in 2025, hot off the press from Harper. She holds a PhD in fiction from the University of Cincinnati and an MFA from Indiana University. Her short fiction has appeared in the New England Review, Diagram, Tri-Quarterly Review, and elsewhere. She lives in South Bend, Indiana, with her partner, daughter, cat, and turtle.
Thank you so much, Jane, and thank you so much, Helene, for inviting me. I'm just thrilled to be here and just incredibly honored. And what a great organizations we have. Thank you. Yeah, so this is my debut novel, Blob. I'm just gonna read from the beginning and then skip around. Chapter 1. It's May, freshly turned and drizzling, when I find the blob outside a dive bar. A beige gelatin splotch the size of a dinner plate sits next to a trash can, tucked between glass shards and chewed gum. It reminds me of the slime I made as a kid with my brother, a concoction of Elmer's glue, baking soda, shaving cream, contact lens solution, food coloring, and water. Before Alex abandoned me for the neighborhood boys with their N64s and X-Men cards, we spent hours sticking it on each other and peeling it off. You're a monster, we would say. The blob looks like those times when we made the mixture too liquidy and the whole thing slipped from our hands and disintegrated on the kitchen floor. I bend down to get a closer look and make out a mouth and eyes. Its lips form a downturned crescent moon, an exaggerated frowny face. Two beady black eyes look up at me, no eyelids. Shit, I say. This thing isn't slime. I take a picture of the creature on my phone, reverse search the photo, and an animal called a blobfish appears on my screen. There are some similarities. It's about 12 inches long and seems to lack bones and teeth. The problem is, blobfish are native to Australia and live 1,000 meters underwater. It shouldn't be in a landlocked Midwestern college town. I shiver through my thin jacket. The street behind me is empty. It's too early for Friday revelers. A knotty branch sticks out from the bushes and I grab it. Without questioning my instinct, I return to the blob and extend the stick. Gently, I poke. The wood meets flesh without any resistance. I push deeper and the stick glides through the blob. I've gone too far, made myself a blob kebab, but when I pull back, there's no puncture wound. I poke again and see the blob flinching away from the intrusion, forming a tunnel of open space to avoid the stick. I stumble back, regretting my encroachment. What are you? I ask. I receive no response. So the first chapter kind of goes into the life of Phi Lu. She's 20-something Taiwanese American, kind of in this hotel job. So I'm going to skip to the blob so we can have more blob times. So I'll skip that section. I scroll through my phone looking for answers. One 2013 poll named the blobfish the ugliest animal in the world, beating out the aquatic scrotum frog and pubic lice. Another news item corrects the ugliest misconception. It turns out the infamous photo of the grumpy-looking goo is a dead blobfish. At its normal depth, the blobfish looks like any other bony fish. It's the decompression damage that makes it ugly. The pressure difference when the fish is dragged up thousands of meters to the surface is 200 times what a human would experience if they were blasted out of the airlock of a spaceship. The fish doesn't stand a chance. It unspools. I step closer to the blob and watch its body slowly rise and fall. Definitely alive. Growing up, my parents bought me pets on most of my birthdays. Later, Alex would tell me they felt bad that I had no friends and thought animals might help. Instead of playmates, I had a hedgehog, a corn snake, a red-eared slider turtle, a bearded dragon that my mom made my dad get rid of when I forgot to close the lid on the crickets he ate. I still feel guilty about a few of my pets. I never cleaned the hedgehog's tank because I was scared of her spines, so she spent her days running in a wheel filled with her own poop. Slithers, the corn snake, so beautiful with her glistening red and black scales, put up with being shoved into a Barbie car and made to zoom around with a shirtless Ken doll. Her diet consisted of a 5-day-old Pinky Mouse that we bought from the pet store in a brown paper bag. As she got bigger, so did the mice, upgraded from hairless pink things to furry young creatures. My dad was in charge of feedings, and eventually the scratches of the mice on the corner of the bags got to be too much for his conscience. We released the snake into the garden in late August. I made a Goodbye Slithers banner to hang above the back door as she ceremonially slithered across the threshold. My mom found her body 3 days later, picked apart by birds. Now I use the toe of my sneaker to kick some glass away from the blob. It doesn't flinch. I'm early to the drag show, and there's no one to turn to and ask, "What do you think this is?" Surely someone better equipped to handle this situation will happen upon it eventually. I get up from my squat. "I'll come back," I say, as I slowly back away, as if the blob might startle if I move too suddenly. Its unblinking eyes follow me. It does nothing to stop me as I descend into the bar. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Okay, you've all been tantalized. So you can go out. There's a link on the Google Doc, which I will again put in the chat. For those who are just coming in, this is a link to all the presenters, right? Social media places to get by Blob and then read the whole thing by Maggie. And then also it is available for comments about other organizations and writers that you want to put there for all of us to know about. And so, yeah, I forgot to say, yeah, as Dawn put in the chat, feel free to use the chat to, respond to the works, ask any questions. We will have about, hopefully at least 10 minutes at the end of this to also have a little discussion with the audience and Q&A. Wonderful, Maggie. I really appreciated that. I love the list of all your inventory of childhood, including pets and toys. And I have an 11-year-old who is doing a Lego right next to me. I know she'd give me a look. But the kids these days are so into slime and squishies, right? And that just reminded me of the Blob. So really very well relevant. Okay, so thank you so much. Now we're going to hear from our second Asian American literary organization, Banyan Asian American Writers Collective, which I'm also proud to be involved with since it started around 2017. It's been so formative in my life as a community member and writer, and really was one of my inspirations for organizing this event. So we're going to first hear from Mary Grace, or as her friends call her, MG Bertulfo, who is the founder of Banyan Asian American Writers Collective. She has written for television and children's education in such venues as CBS, Pearson Education Asia, and Schlesinger, and for conservation magazines such as Sierra and Chicago Wilderness. Her fiction, essays, and poetry have appeared in Dear Human, On the Edge of Time, City of Big Shoulders, and Growing Up Filipino 2, and more. Mary Grace's pieces have been performed at the Goodman and Open Door Theaters. She founded Banyan Asian American Writers Collective, co-owns Calypso Moon Art Studio, and has organized community arts events with the Chicago Field Museum, the Philippine Consulate Chicago, and the Girl Scouts. Give it to you, MG.
Thank you so much, Jane. This is such a joy to be here. Thanks to you and Dawn and Amy and the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame, all of the panelists. I would have loved an event like this when I moved to Chicago like 25 years ago. So this is really wonderful to be together. As Jane said, I am the founder of Banyan Asian American Writers Collective, which I started in 2017. It was a response to the rise in racial hatred after the election of 2016. And I have to intone the names of Jane Hseu and Samina Hadi Tabassum and Nicole Sumida, who is here, because Banyan would not exist without them. It is a 100% volunteer, no budget, labor of love, grassroots organization. And I'm very thankful to everyone who shows up. And we invite all of you to come and check us out so that we can support your work. The kind of programming that we have, Jane and Isabel Garcia Gonzalez started, I believe it was 7 years ago, Writing in Community, which became a virtual monthly generative writing workshop every second Saturday in the morning, 10 to 12. Any genre, we have poetry, fiction, all kinds of literature, comics. Musicians have made songs on the spot. So, if you choreograph story, we welcome everything. So come and bring your stuff on the second Saturdays. We also have a bi-monthly critique session that Karen Hseu started with Victor Yip, which I'm not sure if he's here. That is every other month, also in the mornings, 10 to 12 noon. We do not do a black box MFA style critique. What we do is actually ask authors, what Karen and Vic do is they ask authors to give cultural context and background, because that's often not a thing you're allowed to do in typical formats. And the authors themselves get to lead the discussions. And Karen, you can correct me if you want to when you read. We also have in-person events. We focus on intergenerational audiences. And I forgot to say when I introduced Banyan as an organization that my intent behind it was to foster kindness, So we've had readings and book launches for authors like Samina Hadi Tabassum, Mia Manansala, who just finished her 6th mystery novel, Mystery Cozy, and is going on to YA, M. Evelina Galang and Louisa A. Gloria, as a few, to name a few. We've had Banyan showcases that, of course, have music, harp music from my son, music from Sana Ombra, and of course, food. Coming up, we have an in-person hike and write. It's the first one that we're doing at Thatcher Woods on June 7th. From 9:30 to 12. It includes a special Native history tour of Thatcher Woods, which we arranged especially as we're making connections with Native communities here on their land. So there was also an optional family lunch. This would be a great way to meet us. Please come. Consider yourselves Banyan members for the day and, keep coming back if you want. The best way to reach us, you can go to the crowdsourced sheet. I would email me, mgbertulfo at gmail.com, and I will put you on our mailing list. So come and join us and let us support your work and build community. Jane was gracious enough to let me share a sample of a poem. I'm going to read Feast before we get to the featured reader from Banyan, who will be Karen Hseu. Feast is from this book, which I don't know if you can see, Dear Human, at the Edge of Time. They are poems about climate change in the United States. You look at time. And it was edited by Luisa A. Gloria and Eileen Casaneto and Jeremy Hoffman. So the trigger warning here is it is about climate change, but it's about resilience of a Filipino family during climate change. Thirst hides in the small things piercing, who are not things, but wings and striped abdomens turned ruby red at dusk. The drops of my blood are bond as they buzz and needle. Culex mosquitoes and our Bertulfo family reunion navigate the choking summer heat and feed our respective broods. Guitars serenade our backyard dinner party, moments stolen from clicking laptops, sanitized decks, and corona isolation. Lola Meli and Lolo Jun flew halfway across America to meet baby Elias, pleasant plumpness and folds, and pass him on our exuberant, bouncing knees around patio tables, piled with pancit noodles and oil-stained pizza boxes. We endure, trying not to wilt, beaded sweat unable to evaporate. Cousins squeal and shoot clear arcs of water. I pull strips of damp blue cloth, makeshift kerchiefs from the fridge, tie frosty knots in the dimples of our necks. We hold on, 15 minutes more, an hour, 4. Who knows when we'll be together again? Tempests from whirring fan blades confuse flying bloodsuckers. Protective, we swat the tender crooks of baby Elias's knees, fending off fevers, the threat of vomit, dreading spots and splotches from West Nile virus. Hungry mosquito mamas siphon our lifeblood. Which of them carries the disease? Next morning, I drain rain from flower pots, puddles from dented plastic tables, prevent hundreds of wigglers from hatching. The fury of climate chaos bruises our calves. Our reunion continues, unabated, as red welts rise. Thank you for listening. And now Jane will introduce Karen Hseu.
Thank you, MG. That was beautiful. MG's poetry about the environment, on sustainability is really, she just has provided such great leadership and visibility in that area. Thank you. As MG says, I think one of many great aspects of Banyan is its intergenerational aspects. And at our events, we have people who have published books, like many books, like Mia Mandasala, and written up in the New York Times. And those who wouldn't even, those who hesitate to call themselves writers. They are. I think everybody who writes is a writer, but there's something about that term. But anyway, we have people in their 80s, we have kids, and everyone in between. And to highlight children's literature as one of the many genres Banyan works in of its participants, we have Karen Hseu, who's going to share one of her children's books with us today. And you get an illustrated children's book. So she's screen sharing now so that you can see them. Let me tell you a little bit about Karen. She's the author of 4 biographies for the Leaders Like Us series on Grace Lee Boggs, Philip Veracruz, Yuri Kochiyama, and Dalit Singh Saud. These are for readers ages 6 through 10, first through 4th grade. She was awarded the 2022 Many Voices Prize by the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, Illinois, and was a We Need Diverse Books nonfiction mentee in 2018. She is an active member of Banyan, as well as Catalyze, a BIPOC writing group. Karen teaches at the University of Illinois, Chicago in the Global Asian Studies program. Thanks, Karen.
Oh, great. Thanks, Jane. Thank you, Jane, and everyone at the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame for hosting this wonderful event tonight. I'm really honored to be featured as a writer with all these amazing writers. And, Banyan has been a wonderful community for creativity. So it's really cool to see many of you also here in the audience. So these are the books. The reason that I wrote these books is that when my kids were in fourth grade, they had to do a biography unit for school, and there were no biographies of Asian Americans in their classroom. So I'm hoping now that there will be more kids who get to read about Asian Americans in fourth grade for the biography unit. I am available for school presentations, so if any of you want to tell your schools, that'd be cool. Due to time, what I'm going to do is just read a couple of pages from each book, just to give you a sense of each one. So the first one is on Yuri Kochiyama, who was an activist in Harlem, and her family was incarcerated during World War II. So I'll just read. In Harlem, Yuri became an activist. She started her fight against inequality and other injustices. She joined her Puerto Rican and Black neighbors, fighting for safe streets and better schools for their children. She learned about civil disobedience as a way to protest. When Yuri saw injustice, she couldn't hold back. She marched in protest with her family and even got arrested twice. Yuri was part of many organizations that focused on the causes she cared about. She supported political prisoners. She fought to seek justice for the wrongful incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II. Around this time is when she decided to stop using the name Mary and go by her Japanese name, Yuri. And you see the bolded words are glossary words, and here you do see Yuri with her 6 children. Next is Dalip Singh Sound. He was the first Asian American elected to Congress. He was born in India. So Dalip discovered strong anti-Asian hatred toward Chinese, Japanese, and Indian people like himself. He found safety and comfort by living with others from the Sikh community. It was at this time that Dalip first started speaking publicly against British rule in India. Because of this, Dalip's family didn't want him returning home after he finished school. It wasn't safe. But discrimination made it hard for Dalip to find a job in the US. He decided to join other Indians who were farming in the Imperial Valley in California. And there's a sidebar on the bottom that says from 1899 to 1914, 6,800 Indians from the Punjab region of India came to the Imperial Valley. Mostly men, they farmed and fought for educational and citizenship rights. And next is Philip Vera Cruz, who was a labor leader in the United Farm Workers Union. From the Philippines to Delano. Have you ever been treated unfairly? Have you ever seen injustice that you wanted to help change? Philip Vera Cruz saw oppression firsthand. It made him become a champion for farm workers' rights. It was 110 degrees. Philip had worked a 10-hour day under the sun, but he couldn't even relax while eating his dinner. The walls had holes, so flies, mosquitoes, and roaches made themselves at home in the kitchen. The showers were outside. The toilet was just a pit in the ground that was too full to use. Philip thought about his family back home in the Philippines. It would break their hearts to know this was how he and his fellow Filipinos were living in America. And then Grace Lee Boggs, who was an activist in the Black Power movement in Detroit. After so many years of movements and protests, Grace saw reality change. So Grace changed her ideas. Instead of trying to make big changes, Grace focused on smaller changes. She saw hope in Detroit's people painting murals, planting community gardens and urban farms, and creating schools. She saw hope in small local groups doing grassroots actions. She didn't want people to follow leaders. She wanted everyone to be leaders themselves. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. So appreciate your work. Karen did a reading at the school my daughter goes to, where her children also went to before, to all the K through fifth students, hundreds, and they loved the books. It was so wonderful. Yes, so have her visit your schools and places. Yes,
Yeah,
Helene,
actually, what was cool about that was my kids' fourth grade teachers were there. And I was like, now you have books on Asian Americans for your classroom. So,
right?
yeah.
Awesome. It's awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move to our third organization, which is the South Asia Institute. And I just wanted to say, I mean, I've attended Kundiman Midwest events. I think there was an open mic I read at online, last year or something. And I've been to South Asia Institute. Shireen will tell you more about that. It's such a beautiful space in the South Loop. They do programming. Shireen will tell you, but they are prolific with the programming. Like they have, I don't know, at least several, it seems like, incredible events. So definitely go visit them, check out their work. They are amazing. So let me tell you a little bit about Shireen. She is the co-founder and artistic director of South Asia Institute, a 501c3 nonprofit public corporation she founded along with her husband in 2015. She is a retired professor of anesthesiology, having spent 44 years at Northwestern University. Over a period of 50 plus years, she and her husband assembled one of the major South Asian visual arts collections, the Hundal Collection in the US. The desire to share the artworks on a larger scale and promote South Asian artists prompted them to establish South Asia Institute, the only independent South Asian American arts and cultural center in Chicago dedicated solely to preserving and promoting South Asian cultural heritage and traditions through the arts. She and her husband are the only South Asian Americans who have established professorships in South Asian art at multiple USA universities to foster the next generation of scholars, curators, and critics in the field of South Asian visual arts. So it's amazing what Shireen has done and what she's building forward. Thank you, Shireen.
Thank you, Jane. This is wonderful to be part of this program, and we're ever grateful for you for extending the invitation and to the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. Also, greetings to all the organizers, the participants, the audience. It's just amazing. We really appreciate being included in this program. So as Jane said, I'm one of the co-founders of the South Asia Institute, and as she said, we are the only South Asian American nonprofit art and culture space in the U.S., and we are solely dedicated to promoting and preserving our arts and our cultural heritage. We like to say that we bring our culture to life through our exhibitions and music and films and theater and literary programs. It takes, we have a wonderful team. I really can't take all the credit for everything that happens at the Institute. We have a wonderful team and so many volunteers and supporters, that we really have to thank for everything we're able to do. Historically, our South Asian writers have been relegated to the margins, and they've been pigeonholed into writings that align with certain marketable narratives. And they're expected to write within these narrow themes, things like arranged marriages and partition and so on, and really limits their creative freedom. We also come across gatekeepers, at publishing houses who lack cultural competency and motivation to champion some of these diverse stories that our writers feature all the time. And to make it even harder, within our South Asian immigrant community, the literary career is often viewed as not being viable or respectable path for a child because of it not being financially secure, or cultural pressures which make folks choose STEM or other professional careers. And so our South Asian authors also lack access to elite networks that are crucial for their success. And we feel that here at South Asia Institute, we can play a role in remedying some of these problems. And even though I've said all these things, I do have to say that it really isn't all doom and gloom. We're beginning to see our South Asian authors receiving recognition for some really nuanced and genre-bending work. We've seen the emergence of independent presses, like our very own Glass Live Press here in Chicago. Organizations like yourselves, that promote community building and visibility outside of these traditional institutions. And all of this is so crucial in uplifting our marginalized South Asian literary voices. So we're really thankful to all of you for what you're doing. And at South Asia Institute, we are really committed to promoting our writers to break through some of the constraints and to gain recognition. And so to all of you authors who are watching this program tonight, we'd love to hear from you. Jane has been wonderful about putting together links to our website and to how to email us. So drop us an email, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. And I really can't say enough how we are really honored to be part of this program today and celebrate Asian literary arts with all of you. So thank you again to Jane and the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame for inviting us and for this opportunity to highlight one of our amazing authors, Ignatius Valentine Aloysius. And I'm going to let Jane introduce Ignatius to you. So thank you again.
Thank you, Shireen. I mean, you've just been such a great partner on this. You hear about all her accomplishments and what she's done to pay it forward to. Thank you to all the participants. They've just been so committed, and it's just been great, some of which I had not really known before this event, working together. So let me tell you more about Ignatius Valentine Aloysius. He earned his MFA in creative writing from Northwestern University. He is the author of the novel Fishhead, Republic of Want, published by Tortoise Books, and Salt Pruning, a collaborative poetry collection published by Hummingbird Poetry Press. A second collaboration, Everything I Touch Is and Isn't You, is forthcoming on Roadside Press in spring 2026. And a third personal collection, Bone Dust Mother, is also due on Glass Lyre Press next spring, which I believe Shireen mentioned that press. Ignatius is co-editor of the Overturning Anthology, Erratics Press 2025. He hosts the reading series Sunday Salon Chicago and chairs the curatorial council at Ragdale Foundation, where he is a board of trustees member. He lives in Evanston and is a 2025 podcast host for South Asia Institute. Welcome, Ignatius.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Shireen, for the introduction. That was so well said. And thank you, Don, Randall, Amy Danzer, and the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. This is such a great opportunity, and I've been waiting for this, planning for it, and pushing it as far and wide as I could. And it's just a wonderful moment here to be a part of all this. So thank you again. I'm going to read from Salt Pruning a few poems. The first one is called, and just before I begin, I want to say it's a collaboration with the recent poet laureate of Santa Cruz, California, David Allen Sullivan. And David actually reached out to me on Sunday Salon for a reading, and then we began a conversation, and then that's how the collaboration started. So the first poem I'm going to read is called Sea of Dreams. And there's an epigraph. It says, each of us building with what we've been given. See, what's been said is more reasonable than the patchy carps of an immigrant's hazards. Chasing the green card, running from the INS, squirreling into every address, eating peanut butter on boiled rice. The take it or leave it, pittance pay. You want more. Feel what it feels like to face an unknown place for the first time. Feel its ground move faster than the intelligence of your feet's imprints. Spend a lifetime listening to the winding strands of stories absorbed. There is belief, love even in the backbone of a leaf, seeking union with essence. Does a tree dream of light? A boat have dreams of a calm, perfect sea? Friend, you and I are typesetters in bioluminescent molds. Our sense-in is of interest to the trade. Words sown like habitual fields of corn in smart rows. Patches of hurt must be sewn up, says the proud corncob, if life is to find its kind listeners. Look closely at a discarded corn husk. Study it when you tear a husk free from the cob. It has its sculptedness, its woven bits, blanket of tamed cells, all pressed, undulating, asking, and then, and then? Thank you. Thank you very much. This next poem is called Chickpea Love. It's for everybody, but especially for the vegetarian. There's no shortage of miracles and pleasure that protein brings to bones sprung up on legumes. Chickpeas see me through good and lean times at a nice price, when meat isn't an option anymore. On the streets in Mumbai, I recall vendors, their spoke-wheeled carts, delighting the eyes with high pyramid-shaped stacks of cooked chickpeas, white and dark. They served up legumes with diced onions, tomatoes, hot green chilies, pinches of salt and red pepper, mango powder, cilantro, then a final squeeze of fresh lime. All of it tossed up with a spoon in a whipped up waffle cone made of cut up newspapers. It blows your mind, this act and slice of life, of sellers telescoping on dusty streets. Chickpeas are love, a fine democratic lot. And this next poem, thank you, this next poem is called Wanderings. I meditate too, but not that way, with breath and bodies back, whisked up like mountains form, or kneaded dough hungering for new life in fire's hot lap, returning to silent fates. I meditate too, but not like ashes peaked with bated breath, before reaching winds come lifting their gauze through the trees. Take the case of each word that's worth meditating on. There's its form, how it's made, how it clicks and slips between lines on a page, its meaning, say an island or far mountain gifting good rain or burning pangs. I meditate on words and wanderings. Mother's 2 strokes, throwing her headfirst to the floor. I couldn't save her. Thank you. And this last poem is called, thank you. This last poem is called The Distortions of Great Writers Made Labyrinths for Us. And it's an epigraph that says, like when you ask a dream to give you more light. Borges puts us in time's labyrinths, spoke to us about the immortals and histories of infamy. Today, we ask what we've made of ourselves. We surrender our dreams, ask for more light in the darkness parading inside. I wake up some mornings observing how dead I am, chasing evidences of rootedness. You only know it's there when your soul blocks its path, throws a shadow. But is it yours? My quit reality's still searching for a way out. Out there, do they see us as cephalopods, as curious specimens fighting good with folly and plunder? I'm charged with belief, with admiration for some great character to come unseen, sparking between the lines of newspaper ink and ballets of truth, swollen on TV and on streaming media in full doses. Something may happen. I won't look to Congress for that. I dream of light, a safe country, weenus working here. The animals are hushed, listening to us. They are more interesting, so we bring them closer for common sense, love. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ignatius. Oh, your reading reminds me of the power words and just phrases that I will remember. Were all those poems from Salt Pruning?
They are. Yep.
Okay. All right. I want to see them in print, and
I don't remember the pages now.
Oh, okay. Give us a page. We just have to read the whole book, which we do.
Thank you so
But
much.
yes, and I definitely need to see all those poems again and read them. But oh man, chickpeas.
Thank you.
The ode to chickpeas. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ignatius. Okay, and our last reader and speaker, and certainly not least, so excited to hear from her, is Viola Lee, who is a Chicago area writer who has also read with Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. So glad to have her here tonight. She graduated from NYU with an MFA in poetry. Her book, Lightning After the Echo, was published by Another New Calligraphy. She has published poems in literary journals throughout the US and recently published in Bellevue Literary Review, Mississippi Review, Barrow Street, and another Chicago magazine. Her manuscript, The Only Home, was a finalist in the 2023 Switchback Books Gatewood Prize, semifinalist in the 2023 Perugia Press Poetry Prize, and finalist in the X.J. Kennedy Poetry Prize. She lives in Chicago with her husband, son, and daughter, and she teaches fourth, fifth, and sixth grades at Near North Montessori School. Bless your heart, Viola. That is amazing to teach those middle grades. Welcome, Viola.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to wish everyone a happy and a happy API month. And I'd like to thank Don Evans. Don, thank you, and the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. Don always, I feel like he is definitely a community connector, and I'm so appreciative of all the work that Don does along with the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame. Thank you, Randall, and thank you, Amy Danzer. Amy, awesome. You're awesome. And Jane, thank you for coordinating this reading. So happy API month, and I'm going to read some poems tonight or today. If I start falling asleep, it's only because I had a long day of students. And so maybe someone could start flashing a red light or something. But anyway, I'm going to stay awake and read to all of you. Okay, so here we go. The poems that I'm going to read are actually from what is it called? A chapbook that I'm working on. And they're all just poems to celebrate my father. And it actually begins with a quote. The chapbook begins with a quote by Willa Cather. And the quote is, "There are some things that you learn best in calm and some in storm." And so the collection actually that I'm working on is called Father Storm. And so these are my father poems, and there's 4 of them. So the first one is called My Father, the City. My father, the city. Whenever someone asks me about my father and they ask me, what was the most important part of his life? Father, brother, son, man, husband, uncle, Korean, American, golfer, gardener, mechanic, owner, Chicagoan, for the love of the city, for the love of this work, all the grime and all the grit, Chicagoan, all the grime, all the grit, Chicagoan, Chicagoan. Okay, so there's actually 4 poems that I'm going to read. The second one, this is called A Father. And I'm sorry that my children are coming in now. Okay, this poem is called Father. My father passed away this summer. Death is always an acre. It is always the apple in the shape of a cloud, that weird sheet music found in a barrel of sticks, that sticky note and $100 bill tucked in a pocket. My father passed away this summer, and if there's anything, it's that a body without a life is a pyramid for the taking, a casket, a hamper, a crate, a box. My father passed away this summer. His suit was beyond sharp and major. These are the things that he never took away. A life full of fold, a calendar of our daily wants, becoming that parable never told. My father passed away this summer. Dinner is now the task of a powerful stranger. You become keenly aware of this written task, the experience that cannot fit into a backpack. The the word in an article being studied at the kitchen table again. This time it moves beyond skin, beyond bone. It is a written order. It is that thing my father never carried. You wouldn't either. Okay. The third poem that I'm going to read is called The God That Keeps You Here. The God That Keeps You Here. Oh, we are sitting with these old photos of you, looking for ones to display on black foam core. All of them are in black and white, and many of them are images of you in military uniform. Standing next to strangers, everyone is young, regal, beautiful. Who knows what the date or year is? It doesn't matter. Who knows what is happening or why those were taken? Maybe to memorialize this brief stint of your life, taking part in a task that prepares men for war. But today, everything is an embodiment of you. The flowers that need pruning, the moth flying into the light by the back door late at night, the neighbor bringing over a store-bought lemon cake, this blue cloth that protects these old photos of you. Everything embodies you, what you built, the hard work and love that you gave and are still showing. Everything, the peaches, the snack aisle at the gas station, everything. That dragonfly by the railroad tracks, the skunk crossing the street. As we were getting into the car last night, the group of white-tailed rabbits hopping around the block, everything. The God that keeps you here is the same God that wants you to stay in the body, God of the body, God of the here, the God of this house. Why didn't you stay? Grateful and abundance are the two words that come to mind, and love and enough. These two words, too. With you, there was always enough and so much of it. You taught me this. Love, oh God, to love, to love, to love. Okay, and then the last poem that I'm going to read is a really short one, and it's called "What Luck." What luck. Sitting at a cafe with my son a few weeks after my dad's death, drinking lemonade, and out of nowhere, the words, "What luck," come to me. What luck that we get to be here. What luck to grieve every part of the body. What luck that we have memory. What luck to write about loss. Oh God, what luck, what luck, what luck to have loved you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola. That was lovely. Love the focus on the figure of the father. Thank you, readers and speakers. You're all very prompt on target. We're in our hour, and we have, several minutes, probably about 10 minutes for conversation, questions, discussion. Thank you so much for our audience for being here. I see so many familiar faces. Thank you, Amy. Holy cats. It's good to make you love the animals. So I mean, I certainly have thoughts in response to our wonderful 7 speakers. Lovely. There's something about the live voice, isn't there, to listen to everybody's live and different voices and the sounds of that. But audience members, thank you for listening. What would you like to say and share? A question for someone or more than one? Any feedback on the reading? I know we've got comments in the chat. So who would like
raise
to?
your hand. Just raise your hand.
Yes, yes. It's probably good to raise your hand so the teacher can call on you. Although I guess if you want to put a question in the chat, that is maybe while everybody is thinking of their question, I will this is what I do as a professor too, to warm everybody up. But I know you're thinking, in comments and things like that. But I'll just ask the 7 presenters, and maybe not all of them will reply. But why is it important to you to have a, whatever we call it, Asian American, Asian Pacific Islander, Desi American, it's Asian American Heritage Month, the PETA Heritage Month. Why is it important for you to have a Asian American space, or right, particularly as we were talking about in the Chicagoland area? And I know Shireen has raised her hand, so I don't know, if Shireen, you have a comment or a question, or you want to respond to that. So
yeah, I think the only point I wanted to make is that I hope that this won't be just an annual thing. I'd love to see the group get together on occasion other than just during AAPI month. We like to say that every month is, we celebrate our South Asian culture every single day at South Asia Institute, and I hope that we'll have other events before the next May.
thank you, Shireen. Definitely. I have a friend, she's very funny. She says, and she gets asked to do a lot of events during May. So I was hanging out with her a couple of days ago, and she's like, after May, I'm still Asian. So she's like, actually, I'm really tired this May after May. Anyway, but yes, Shireen and South Asia Institute. But definitely, I want to say also 2 of the other major Asian American arts organizations, Circuit Painting and Apita Arts. I also put them on the Google Doc for those who didn't see it before, and you can add to the Google Doc I put in the chat. They have an event right now. They have an event at the Rizal Center in Lakeview it's with the League of Chicago Theaters. They're a little more theatery, we might say. I contacted them. Our date was first, but I was just like, I don't, we share some of the same audiences, and they were like, no, it's great. We're so glad there's so many events going on in May. But yeah, more opportunities to collaborate and just, we know each other now, so we'll see each other around and connect. Thank you, Shireen. MG, you got a hand up?
Yeah, tangentially answering your question, I guess. I was thinking as everyone was, half apologizing for kids being in the room and kids coming through. And at one of the first Banyan events, I remember a few people, but especially my brother coming up. The point here is Asian American audiences and Asian American organizers change the space. And my example of that is that because we're doing intergenerational events, we had a kids table. The parents who wanted to come and listen to poetry and literature, who maybe couldn't come out for the wine and cheese events at 8 p.m. because they've got young kids, really appreciated the change in format. And I didn't expect that to be an outcome of, the first Banyan events, but it was such a learning curve that setting something at 2 p.m. and having, childcare arts in the room made such a difference to whether people could show up at all. So I'm glad we're all organizing together, and I hope we keep coming up with, ideas to reach our communities and make bridges. So thank you, Jane and the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame, for putting this together. This is so powerful.
Thanks, MG. Ignatius?
So I just wanted to add, first of all, thank you. It's great to see everybody and to have this chance to read. But as an author, I just want to say, I think authors, we tend to work in a vacuum, and the more we work alone, we need the space to work alone. Otherwise, we cannot produce the work we create. But that said, I think it's very important for authors to also get out and connect with organizations and support the organizations, because they also open doors for you and can lead you to other events. And I think I host Sunday Salon Chicago, but it's really not an Asian American event. It's a public event that where I cross all genre boundaries and gender boundaries. But just working with South Asia Institute and Shireen and Afzal, it's been really helpful to me as an author, working alone, to kind of reach out and also have them welcome me. And I just want to say, all writers, you should do the same, and never feel that you are alone. There is a support community.
Thank you, Ignatius. Never feel like you are alone. Very wise words. All right. I see a lot of comments.
I just want to
go
say
ahead.
thank you. I just want to say thank you to Ignatius for those comments.
You're welcome.
You're a pleasure to work with also.
Thank you.
I see a lot of comments in the chat from the audience. I'd love to hear from at least one or two audience members, about our event, the readings, what struck you, maybe questions you have. I know, there's a lot of great people on the call.
Jane, but I have something quick, Jane.
Yeah.
So I think probably nearly everybody who attended tonight has already seen this, but in case you haven't, Jane did a wonderful job writing what we call it a blog on our website, which is a misnomer. I don't know what blog is exactly, but it's a survey kind of the contemporary Chicago Asian American literary scene, highlighting authors and books. And she's been doing this sort of work partly as a way to promote this event tonight, but also because we want to, we want to know about new voices, or even voices that are not new that we haven't heard about. And so Jane, has done not only a great job of creating something that's useful for the Hall of Fame, but I think that a lot of people are appreciative of. And so I bring this up not just to pat Jane on the back, although she deserves it, but to also say that any ways that anybody here has that they want to contribute to our website or to have us cross promote things you're doing. I mean, obviously we're the Chicago Literary Hall of Fame, so Chicago and literary are, kind of the prerequisites, but beyond that, we try the best we can with the resources we have, which are limited to, try to help in every way we can, not only for ourselves, but for, the greater kind of literary community, cultural community, because I think in doing us authors a favor, we're doing a lot of other people's a favor too. So thank you, Jane, for all that work. I know how time consuming and difficult it is to do something like that.
Great. Thank you, Don. Charles.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks to all that shared their works and their love of their works, and thanks to all the organizations and hosts. I'm going to ask a question that probably is not a good question at the end because it easily could spark a 12-hour discussion, but I'm just interested. I'm thinking of this idea of e pluribus unum, out of the many one. And I'm thinking right now, though, the idea of the one is a sort of gray conformist and add your adjectives, to seemingly what's going on in the country and a lot of areas of the world. And I'm just thinking about the idea of the opposite of out of the one, many. And it seems like the idea of, the many right now, that there are efforts to cancel that. And so my question is, how do any of you, and I see all of your examples as illustrating this, but any thoughts on how the realm of imagination, creativity, and dreams right now, and keeping that independent from colonization is a form of resistance right now?
I can try to
Go ahead,
answer
Ignatius.
that. Thanks for the question, Charles. I think it's a loaded question, but it's a wonderful question. Just recently I've been having conversations with my wife, Cynthia. I was born and raised in India, and although I am naturalized, one of the big questions, the big topics that came up with my immigration attorney was, you are given citizenship, but be careful because the government can take that away under any pretext. And so for me, in this time, given the current political situation, as a writer who has hosted resistance events in the past, I've sort of pulled back and laid low because I'm just thinking that at some point there's going to be a knock on the door. And I'm just, I don't know how to answer that question except to say that all I can do is trust my own craft, my own heart's desire, which is to write in the strongest way possible, because I don't know how else to react. I mean, if I go out and protest and get arrested, I could easily be in a paddy wagon shipped off to New Orleans or somewhere else, right? My wife would never know. So it's a big question for me that's floating in the air at the moment because I don't have an answer. But all I can say is the idea of e pluribus unum, I think is saying that as an artist, stick to what you know best, and don't reach out too far because there are risks involved, and you have to be more practical and realistic about it. I hope that answers your question. So,
Jane, can I follow up on that?
Yes, Randy.
That's a really fascinating comment. We used to have a class at Columbia called Censorship in the Writer's Voice, and so much of it was about self-censorship. And you're worried, Ignatius, about the knock on the door or getting shipped to New Orleans or whatever. I guess I'm wondering if you are feeling that's self-censorship in any way. I'm wondering if any of the writers on this panel have felt that or are feeling it particularly poignantly right now?
That's a great question, Randall. I think, and I'll just make it a quick answer. Um, when I'm sitting down to write, I don't bring in those thoughts of self-censorship. I think because it's going to inhibit what I'm working on, what I'm creating, what I'm expressing. And I think for me, the act of expression is closing all the doors so I can create without any control from the outside world. If I'm doing any control myself, I try to let go of that so I can find my best expression.
What about the publishing of it? Do you feel any hesitation about publishing the work once you've written it?
You know, I've got a poetry collection coming out next year, and I have a feeling that there's going to be some questions raised about what I'm saying. But also, I'm co-editor of the Overturning Anthology, which is a Roe versus Wade decision that was made in 2022 in June. And we have about 38 authors, writers, poets, prose writers and poets. And there's a lot being said about the decisions that have been made in the past couple of years. And I feel that when the book comes out in just a few weeks, I will have to stand up and defend that. And I have to say that, I'm willing to just go off the cliff if I need to for that, to defend that.
More power to you, my man.
Thank you. Yeah.
And that's why we need to have each other's backs, right? By
Right.
coming together, making these connections.
It's a big risk.
Yeah.
And
Stand together. It really
Yeah,
is.
definitely.
It's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary times. Would another of the presenters like to comment on Charles' question, or?
I like Eduardo's comment. I think I really like reading that comment because it makes me feel good too.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
I mean, I think, and I'll probably close this out at this point, but I think maybe a lot of us, if I think of myself too, I mean, I loved reading books as a kid. I was a bookworm. I love literature. It's just a part of who I am. I love the arts. And, I'm a professor at a college. I'm an educator. I'm a teacher. Public libraries are probably one of my most important, of my favorite places. The arts. And I think right here, I kind of think like, oh, this is great. Our friends are here. We're having a great time. I mean, we're talking about these difficult, but it's just like, it's life, it's family, it's right. I mean, it's the human experience, but right. The public libraries are being attacked, books are being censored. I teach classes like Asian American literature and Latino literature and post-colonial literature. And I'm like, will I be able to teach those classes? They say, some people tell me, don't talk about the administration, don't talk about the president. I'm like, well, I'm teaching about the Chinese Exclusion Act and Mexican repatriation and, things like that. How can I not link it to things today like anti-Asian racism and, the war on immigrants? So I guess we just keep fighting. I know people, right? I mean, they cut funds from, some of our wonderful Chicago arts institutions, Illinois Humanities, libraries. We keep fighting. We keep creating, we keep loving, we keep making connections and standing up for each other and ourselves. Karen.
Yeah. It just made me think about how I have met many students in the past year who start off. I also teach literature classes, and a lot of my students come into classes saying, I really don't read. I don't like reading. I don't read anymore. And by the end of the semester, when they start reading books that really speak to their experiences, they're hooked and they're like, oh my gosh, I really enjoyed reading that book. I want to read more. So I just wanted to kind of share that as let's keep doing it. Let's keep inviting more readers to read because it's so, so needed. And it is really concerning that our curriculums may not continue being able to have a space for this when it's so needed. I just have so many students that have never read an Asian American book, before getting to my class. And there's just so many now that I can't keep up with reading them all. So, but yeah.
And there's so much to teach. I mean, through the
Yeah.
literature too. My students, some have never heard of Japanese American internment, which is arguably the most,
Right.
well-known Asian American. But I would say the young people, many, I take them, they've never been to a poetry reading. They've never been to a theater. And when they go, they're like, wow, this is great. I didn't know things like this existed. Right. So the power of the arts. I mean, we think, oh, we're so defunded and disempowered, but we got some kind of power, because otherwise why bother to attack us? Anyway, on that note, but also the joy of bringing everybody together. Keep in touch. You've got the Google Doc. We've all met each other now. We'll see each other around. Thank you so much to the presenters, the Literary Hall of Fame, the audience for being here. Keep in touch. Stay well. Stay strong.